my eyes, and I tell people, look, whether you're religious or not, I'm religious. I'm Catholic.
Right.
I had a vision of Jesus coming toward me. I was so thirsty. That's all I wanted. I wanted to just pass on. I made my peace with God. I said, thank you for 33 great years, a beautiful wife, a beautiful little girl that I had 4 years with. I said, thank you. If I'm going to die today, I'm going to die as an American and as a police officer doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I was regretting was that my wife was pregnant. She was 7 months pregnant. I wasn't going to see my little girl be born. And I made my peace with him. And that's when I saw a vision of Jesus coming toward me. No faith. And on one side, he had a bottle of water. And I tell people, I said, I was so thirsty. There was no saliva, and I just wanted the water. And I remember snapping out of that vision, that dream, whatever you want to call it,
right,
with a new energy, an energy that said, if I'm going to die, it's going to be on my terms, not the terrorist terms.
Right.
And I remember for the next several hours, me and my sergeant prayed a lot. We were in a lot of pain. I can't even describe to you the pain. And it wasn't until 8 o'clock that night when I heard in the distance people, because you got to understand, we were in the center of the concourse, and we actually had both buildings falling on us. So where we stopped, we were actually between both towers.
Right, that's the concourse between the two towers. At that time when you were in their trap, you had realized at this point now that this was a terrorist attack, right?
Well, we knew there was a terrorist attack from the time we left the bus terminal. Because, again, you got to remember that plane that covered the 42nd Main Avenue intersection, one of our sergeants had seen it, and he said, that's not a plane. This is not an accident.
Right.
It's a terrorist. So we already knew that. We just didn't know the scope of it,
Mm-hmm.
And being buried in there, we had no idea what was going on. We thought we were at war because later that evening around 7, I believe Building 7 had collapsed.
Right.
And Building 7 housed an armory, and we heard a lot of gunfire. So in my minds, we thought basically the cops are in a firefight with the terrorists, because we really thought at this point, who would attack the United States like this?
Right.
And for the next several hours, a lot of pain, a lot of praying, and then in the distance around 8 o'clock, I had heard voices, and I had been yelling as much as I could all night long, but nobody heard us. We were just in the middle of this thing. And finally, 2 Marine reservists, Jason Thomas and David Carnes, found us, and they alerted at that point, and Chuck Sharika, a former paramedic, came into the hole along with, when they got the NYPD ESU Truck 1. Scott Strauss, who led my operation to get me out with Patty McGee. Brave guys. They got into a whole smoke-filled environment. For 3 hours it took them to get me out of there.
How did they
about cutting my leg off to get me out. And then my sergeant came out. I came out at 11 o'clock that night. And I remember coming out through the Stokes basket, and that's the first time I cried that evening when I came out, because when I looked up, I didn't see anything. And I remember asking, where is everything? And there was a firefighter who said, it's all gone, kid. And I remember that's the first time I cried, because I knew I felt as if we failed. We failed to get everybody out of there, and, I just felt terrible. They took me off to Bellevue Hospital. I remember getting to Bellevue, and as a police officer, you always hope that, since you're putting your life on the line day after day, or as a firefighter day after day, that if you are injured, they can at least see you first.
Yeah.
And I remember getting to the hospital, and there were just doctors standing there. And I remember saying, where's everybody? Where's
waiting, right.
And they said, you're it. And then I just remember crying more, because I'm like, how bad is this thing? And they did surgery on me. I had 11 operations in a week. My sergeant came out the next morning at 7 a.m. It took 8 hours more to get him out. And we didn't know till a year later, when we went to thank the guys from NYPD ESU Truck 1 that got us out. They said to us, do you guys know that you're the only 2 to survive from under it? And that really broke my heart, because I was hoping that if we were able to survive in this void, they'd find other people. And unfortunately, they didn't. But the one thing I tell people today is just that if 2 of us can survive, anybody can survive anything. I was trapped for 13 hours, my sergeant for almost 24 hours, and that the human spirit is bigger than any evil person can ever break down, And that's, that's what, the story of 9/11, what I feel should be going forward every year. Let's not look at the tragedy. Let's look at the positive things, because if you don't take anything good out of tragedy, it's just that, a tragedy. And America is such a resilient country that I tell people, we ended up being asked to make the movie by Oliver Stone, World Trade Center.
Right, that's right. You were in that.
It was the good of that thing. And I keep saying, I wonder what Bin Laden does when he puts that in and watches it, where he says, what do I do to break these people? And the answer is, there's nothing you can do to break us. Because the love I saw in that concourse from regular strangers helping each other, from the love of Dominic trying to save me and get my sergeant out, from the love of the thousands of people on that line when they pulled me out of the center of that building and their boots are melting, and all my fellow police officers, American firefighters, just civilians, this country is great. And that's what we have to remember this September 11th. Be good to each other. It's easy to get back into the daily grind of things, but
exactly.
You know what? Do something nice every day. Show people you care, and we'd be a better place. And we are. We're a stronger country. How we came together is something I miss because I was hospitalized for so long. I never got to see the West Side Highway, everybody supporting the cops and the firefighters and all the rescue workers, But this is a special country. You got to remember, I came here when I was 2 years old from Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
My mom brought me here, and she said, "We'll be proud of your heritage, but this is our country. You fly the American flag," and that's something I hope and I stress to everybody. Not a day goes by that there's not an American flag on my front lawn, and everybody should fly the American flag because this country gives us so much. The least we can do is pay respect to that and always be nice to each other.
Exactly, and like you said earlier, a lot of people take for granted where they are and what we have. Yeah,
and you know what? I was fortunate enough to be able to serve my country right after high school. I went to 11 different countries. I love traveling the world. Mm-hmm. I think the world is a great place. But there was nothing like coming back to the United States. And I think Tony Blair says it best. Any country that more people are trying to get into than out has something good going on.
Right,
and
right.
I love that statement.
You mentioned that you had been in. How long were you in the hospital for?
Well, I ended up being hospitalized for about 2 months. It took me about probably a year and a half to actually be back to, walking without a cane. Sustained injuries where, unfortunately, I had to retire. And, I live with my scars, but, I look at these scars and the challenges I have as a gift, that I'm fortunate enough to be walking and talking when we lost so many brave people. And I tell everybody's a hero, from the cops to firefighters and civilians. I tell the kids, I said, those that lost their parents, they're heroes. They were there making a living. They were living the American dream. Mm. And, as a survivor, I feel it's my duty to remind people of what happened that day and the positive things that came out of that and the brave people that gave their lives, not just rescuing those that were inside, but those that just were living the American dream. And that's something that'll never die. And the terrorists should know that they'll never, ever kill the American dream.
Well, Will, we really appreciate you coming out here today and also coming this afternoon. Don't forget, everyone come on out and see Will. He's going to speak at the memorial. Have Will Jimeno, true of many American heroes that happened on that day, and also his story was portrayed, as you heard in the interview just a moment ago, in the Oliver Stone film World Trade Center. So, Will, once again, we'd like to thank you very much for taking your time out and telling us this riveting story, and we'll see you out there this afternoon.
Thanks, Tony. Take care. God bless America.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. All right, you've been listening to College Hill Perspective. My guest, Will Jimeno, Port Authority retired police detective who survived the World Trade Center collapse and the events of 9/11. You heard that story through the part of the program through today, so hope to see you out there this afternoon at the memorial, 3 o'clock, right there at the Connor Green at Sussex County Community College. I'm Tony Salima. I'd like to thank my engineer, Chris DeBello, and we'll see you again next week, folks. I'd like to thank Will Jimeno for being on our radio show and for being with us today here to tell the story of his actual personal witness and events that occurred to him on 9/11/2001. I'm Tony Salimo. Thanks for being with us on EDTV Channel 20 on Campus. We'll see you again next time.